This is Race to Power, only on WION.
Hello, you're watching Race to Power. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. 79% Americans think that the Iran war will drag on much longer. And here's why this is significant. Remember, because this number was 65% in March, much below the current one. On Race to Power tonight, we decode what is making Americans increasingly cynical about President Trump's fight against Iran and why it matters ahead of the November midterm elections. We're also keeping a close eye on the UK. The UK is all set to get a new Prime Minister in Andy Burnham. He has won the massive backing of 349 Labour MPs, including all eligible members of Keir Starmer's current cabinet. We decode the math and the politics of UK's rather volatile last few hours. But first, let's talk about the Iran war. The uncertainty in West Asia and sporadic attacks by both America and Iran has once again put the world on an edge after just days of delicate ceasefire. But the ramifications are also being felt by American citizens, at least according to the latest Reuters Ipsos poll. The latest survey from this past weekend suggests that 79% Americans believe the Iran war will go on for an extended period of time. Now, this number is up from 69% in late March this year. Only 18% Americans believe that it will end in a few weeks. Only 37% of Americans polled approve of the latest U.S. strikes against Iran, while 58% disapprove of it. Meanwhile, when it comes to domestic ramifications, 60% Americans feel that gas prices will get worse after a year. Only 15% feel it will get better, while 16% feel that it will stay the same. Now, this poll, remember, has been conducted before the U.S. president's statement on exercising control over the Strait of Hormuz and charging 20% fee for safe navigation. Donald Trump on Monday this week positioned America as the guardian of the maritime passage and announced a fresh naval blockade on Iran. Iran has been quick to respond to Trump's statement. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was quick to use Trump's own words to mock him and legitimize Iran's position as the guardian of the strait. But Abbas Araghchi also said in his statement that Iran will be rational in its fee charge, saying, and I quote him, 20% is, of course, too much. But for Americans back home, remember, the conversation is not just about the war. In West Asia, it is about the upcoming midterm election, 2 years after Donald Trump won the presidency on the promise of better economic conditions and no American involvement in the endless wars. Between those campaign promises in 2024 and the reality of 2026, a lot has clearly changed for American politics and its people. Let me introduce my guest on the show tonight. Giorgio Cafiero, professor at the Georgetown University and CEO Gulf State Analytics, is joining us live on the broadcast from Washington, D.C. Giorgio, good evening. Welcome to WION. Good to have you back on the show. Can I start by asking you how you see these numbers? American citizens increasingly getting very cynical and pessimistic about how Donald Trump, their president, is approaching this entire war at the moment.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Always good to be your guest. You know, this conflict is clearly one that is not coming to an end. We don't know exactly when it's going to wind down, but it seems as though the U.S. is caught in this Iranian trap of escalation. And this is not popular in the United States, I think, really as a consequence of the wars that took place after 9/11, so-called war on terror that brought the United States into these quagmires in Iraq and Afghanistan, the American public, by and large, is very skeptical about arguments that it is in the U.S. national interest to enter or start these protracted conflicts in West Asia. And we generally, we definitely know that the vast majority of Americans really saw this war that the U.S. and Israel carried out against Iran in late February as a war of choice, not one that was necessary for the vital U.S. national security interests. And as it is going to, well, it seems to clearly be continuing, not really with any end in sight. And I think many Americans are very worried about the economic consequences of this war's continuation.
That's right, Giorgio, and that is what I was coming to next, because the kind of promises that Donald Trump made during his presidential campaign included no wars, but it also had a lot of emphasis on cost of living and how the shelves there, the products on the shelves at markets will cost much lesser for American citizens. The midterms are approaching. Have the Democrats been able to convince American citizens that the Republicans and the Trump administration have not done well on those promises? In fact, on the contrary, prices have increased because of the wars?
Well, without making predictions about how these races in November are going to result, I think we can definitely say that the American-Israeli war on Iran is one that will certainly hurt the Republicans who have been supportive of Trump's war, which certainly includes the vast majority of Republicans, even though there have been some notable exceptions. I think key question would be is if the Trump administration is able to wind down this conflict quickly, which I do not expect, but if that were to happen, I think that could certainly limit the political damage come November. But I agree with the majority of Americans whom you cited at the beginning of your program. I do not expect this conflict to wind down anytime soon. I think probably for many weeks, many months ahead, the war is going to be continuing in one form or another. And I do think that Republicans who have been supportive of this war will be paying a price in November.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see how this really goes for both the Republicans and the Democrats in November. Giorgio, I'll leave it here. Thanks very much for joining us at the moment.
Thank you.
All right, with that, let's get to other updates. Mexico has raised serious concerns over the country's nationals who have either died in custody of ICE or lost their lives in active ICE operations across the United States. On Monday this week, the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, called the latest Mexican national's death in Texas an execution and said that the country has filed a criminal complaint in the United States over 17 dead Mexican citizens.
Bueno, esta es la información del día de hoy.
Well, this is today's information. I want to tell you that today the Foreign Ministry will file complaints with the U.S. Department of Justice and state prosecutors' offices in the United States over the deaths of 17 Mexican nationals, including the most recent one, who was practically executed.
Por el fallecimiento de 17.
According to Mexico's government, 14 nationals have died in ICE custody, while 3 others were killed during ICE raids and arrests. The most recent case involving a Mexican national is from a week ago, when U.S. Immigrant and Customs Enforcement officials shot and killed Mexican national Lorenzo Araujo in Dallas. The 35-year-old was an illegal in the United States, but was close to obtaining American residency.
Say it twice. We will not. Maybe 500 and something illegal.
Araujo's death triggered several protests, not just in Dallas, but other parts of the American state of Texas as well. While ICE claims that its officials were under threat of being run over by the Mexican immigrant's car, the victim's family questioned the claim after eyewitnesses said that no ICE agent was standing close to the vehicle. Britain is on course to get a new Prime Minister, with Andy Burnham all but certain to take over as leader of the ruling Labour Party. The former Greater Manchester Mayor has secured an overwhelming majority of Labour MPs' nominations, leaving no viable challenger in the leadership race. Andy Burnham received the backing of 322 Labour MPs on the opening day of nominations and added 27 more endorsements by Monday. With a total of 349 nominations from Labour's 403 MPs, no rival can now secure the 81 nominations required to enter the contest. Now, this overwhelming support effectively clears Burnham's path to the party's leadership. The 56-year-old is expected to formally become Labour leader later this week before succeeding Keir Starmer as UK's Prime Minister next Monday and becoming Britain's 7th Prime Minister in just the last 10 years. Keir Starmer announced his resignation last month, remember, following months of mounting pressure over a series of scandals, policy reversals and political setbacks. Labour nominations close on Thursday this week, but with no challenger able to qualify, Andy Burnham is expected to be confirmed unopposed at a special party conference on Friday. He's then expected to formally take office as Britain's Prime Minister on the 20th of July. Following Constitutional Convention, Burnham will meet King Charles III before entering 10 Downing Street. His appointment will make him Britain's 7th PM in just 10 years, marking yet another chapter in the country's turbulent political landscape. Shifting focus now, Israel is heading for elections in just over 3 months from now. The heated contest for power is unfolding between the incumbent Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, and ex-IDF chief Gadi Eisenkot. In the latest, Netanyahu has played a move that could strengthen his alliance and secure support from Israel's ultra-Orthodox parties.
חברות וחברי הכנסת היקרים, ברשותכם נעבור להצביע על הצעת חוק.
Israel's parliament has passed a law declaring the study of Jewish religion a fundamental value of the state. The bill cleared its final 2 readings by 63 to 50 votes, ending years-long deadlock between Netanyahu and his alliance partner, Shas, and the United Torah Judaism. Both ultra-Orthodox parties withheld their support to Netanyahu over mandatory military conscription of religious students. Exemption from compulsorily military service for ultra-Orthodox Jews engaged in full-time religious study, remember, dates back to 1948. However, the Supreme Court of the country has repeatedly challenged the exemption in the recent years. In 2024, it ruled that the government must conscript ultra-Orthodox men. With passing of this law, Shas and the United Torah Judaism can throw their weight behind Benjamin Netanyahu in the upcoming polls. The new law will overturn Supreme Court's verdict, making military conscription mandatory for ultra-Orthodox Jews. The legislation sparked fierce criticism from the opposition as well as from within Netanyahu's Likud party. But some leaders of Netanyahu's Likud party are criticizing the move. One lawmaker, Dan Eloz, also resigned from the party. Netanyahu's rival for Prime Minister's seat, Gadi Eisenkot, called Benjamin Netanyahu a coward and called the law a stain that won't be erased. He also accused Netanyahu of using the Knesset to push through laws that are detrimental to the army. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett also lashed out at Netanyahu. He vowed to repeal the law if he comes to power this October. Naftali Bennett is running for the prime ministership in alliance with Yair Lapid's Yesh Atid party. Leader of the opposition, Yair Lapid, meanwhile, questioned Netanyahu's absence during the vote. He announced the launch of a Together We Will Repair campaign against Netanyahu's ruling coalition for the upcoming election. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu's re-election bid, 2 former prime ministers joining hands, and a former IDF chief who lost his son during the Gaza war, joining Israel's race to power. Clearly, the state seems to be set for a high-stakes electoral battle this October. Chinese President Xi Jinping's anti-graft campaign continues to implicate top-ranked officials of the country's supreme governing body, the Politburo. Xi's anti-corruption purge has claimed another high-profile political figure. Former Politburo member Ma Xing-rwei has been expelled from the ruling Communist Party on corruption charges. The expulsion makes Ma the third sitting member of China's elite Politburo to be removed since 2025, clearly underscoring Beijing's continuous drive against alleged corruption at the highest levels of power. Ma was placed under investigation in April over what authorities describe as serious violations of law and discipline. This is the Communist Party's standard term for corruption-related offences. Last month, he was also stripped of his membership in China's National Parliament. According to the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, Ma abused his position to secure benefits for others, interfered in the selection and appointment of officials, and improperly arranged government jobs. The investigation has also cast a wider shadow. Several officials promoted after Ma, remember, became party chief of Xinjiang in 2021. Authorities further accuse Ma of accepting illegal gifts, helping relatives buy property below market value, and engaging in exchanges of power, money, and sex. Now, the case is the latest chapter in the campaign that has already targeted senior party leaders, government officials, and top military commanders. Earlier this year, authorities opened up a corruption probe into Senior General Zhang Youxia. Last year, former Central Military Commission Vice Chair Hu Weidong was expelled from the Communist Party. A new political alliance is reviving one of Sri Lanka's most sensitive debates. More than 17 years after Sri Lanka's civil war ended, the country's Tamil-speaking minorities are now making a fresh push for greater political autonomy. 6 Tamil and Muslim parties have formed a united alliance urging the government to adopt a new constitution, hold long-delayed provincial elections, and fulfill promises of devolving power to the regions. The group collectively represents more than a quarter of Sri Lanka's 22 million population. President Anurakumara Dissanayike's government is facing growing pressure. Tamil parties have asked him to deliver on its promise to devolve power and address the long unresolved issues from the country's ethnic conflict. Remember, Sri Lanka's civil war lasted for more than 25 years, claiming over 100,000 lives before ending in May 2009. But it ended when the government forced defeat. In fact, the government forces defeated the Tamil Tiger rebels. Moderate Tamil parties have abandoned secessionist demands, but they continue to seek self-governance within a united Sri Lanka. A key demand is the holding of provincial council elections, which have been delayed for more than a decade. The provincial councils, remember, were created under a 1987 devolution plan, which was essentially designed to give limited autonomy to Tamil majority areas. The Alliance Security Forces to vacate private land in former war zones, return it to the rightful owners. Right, shifting our focus now to India. A fake post and a real reaction by Jammu and Kashmir's Chief Minister has now triggered a political storm between the Union Territory's ruling party, the National Conference, and the opposition Bharatiya Janata Party. The latest flashpoint is Chief Minister Omar Abdullah's social media remark on a parody post of US President Donald Trump. This has prompted the BJP to demand that he be booked for sedition. The BJP has alleged that Omar Abdullah was deliberately attempting to internationalize an internal matter of India for narrow political gains. As per the party, invoking a foreign leader in connection with the Jammu and Kashmir issue is highly unfortunate and reflects a dangerous political mindset. The Bharatiya Janata Party, remember, which is in power at the national level, serves the role of opposition in the valley. The remarks targeting Omar Abdullah come as a response to these 2 words on social media platform X. In this post, as you can see, Omar Abdullah has reacted to a mock post with Donald Trump's name, which talks about returning statehood for Jammu and Kashmir. To it, CM Abdullah remarked, and I quote him, "If only." Now, the National Conference is scheduled to hold a protest in the national capital on the 20th of July. The Bharatiya Janata Party has claimed that the protest is a deliberate attempt to shift attention away from the demonstrations taking place in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
They want foreign leaders to interfere in India's democracy. We have also sent a legal notice to Omar Abdullah seeking an apology, failing which we will file a defamation suit. We will also initiate legal action against him for allegedly using AI to involve Trump.
The National Conference, however, has strongly rejected the BJP's allegations. Party leaders said the NC has made immense sacrifices over the last 3 decades to uphold democracy in Jammu and Kashmir. They allege that in the recent years, several former militants have joined the BJP. The NC also claimed that if the records of BJP workers in Jammu and Kashmir were scrutinized, many would face criminal proceedings, with several FIRs allegedly pending against them across the Union territory.
Many cases are still pending against people who have joined the BJP, including former militants and those once accused of working for Pakistan. If anyone should face sedition charges, it should be those individuals. The National Conference has made sacrifices and has always stood by India's democracy. If anyone is an enemy of democracy, it is the BJP.
And our special correspondent Idris Lone has sent us this report from Srinagar with more details. Take a look.
There seems to be no end to the tug of war between the National Conference and Bharatiya Janata Party in Jammu and Kashmir. After the defamation suit, now BJP has called for sedition charges against the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. They say that he's invoked foreign leadership like Trump in the internal matters of the country. Meanwhile, the National Conference says that they don't need to take any lessons from the Bharatiya Janata Party. With video journalist Feroz, Idris Lone for WION World is One.
Moving on, Hungary's parliament has voted to remove President Tamás Suyuk, marking a major political shake-up as Prime Minister Peter Magyar moves to dismantle the legacy of former leader Viktor Orbán. The constitutional amendment now puts the spotlight on whether Suyuk will step down or trigger a constitutional standoff. Hungary's parliament, remember, has approved a constitutional amendment to remove President Suyuk from office in one of the biggest political changes since Prime Minister Magyar came to power. The amendment passed by 139 votes to 6, with lawmakers from Magyar's Tisza party applauding the result. Magyar declared the vote marked the completion of reforms aimed at dismantling what he called the Orbán regime.
Today's amendment to the Basic Law was about several things. The mandate of the current President of the Republic will be terminated. We will return the institutions of the state, primarily the presidency, to the Hungarian people. We will set limits on power.
The president now has 5 days to either resign or sign the amendment into law. If he refuses, the government says it will begin impeachment proceedings, raising the possibility of a constitutional crisis. President Suyuk, remember, has rejected the government's accusations, saying that Prime Minister Magyar is making false claims to manipulate public opinion. Former Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's Fidesz party, meanwhile, boycotted this vote, calling the amendment autocratic and warning that it could set a dangerous precedent. The reforms come after Magyar's election victory in April this year on a promise to reverse Viktor Orbán's 16 years in power. The amendment also introduces term limits for lawmakers and creates a new anti-corruption office with sweeping powers as the government pushes broader constitutional reforms. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yowon.com.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder